Threads are wonderful because they allow us to create processes that can be synchronized or asynchronized. But there are problems that come with threads as well. There could be times when we want to make sure that certain variable is not accessed by different threads at the same time, which potentially will change that value very inconsistently. So I went ahead and created a new project here, and I put some code in here. Very simple. So the first thing I'm doing here, I'm creating a class called first, and it has a display method which we pass a message string here. Okay, and we have this square bracket, and then we sleep for about a second, for 1,000 milliseconds equals a second. And then once everything is terminated, we close our bracket as such. Okay, very simple. And the second one, class here, extends thread because we want to be able to use our run method here. So what happens here in our second, we have a few variables, instance variables. We have a message and a first object, okay, which we're instantiating. We're passing polymorphically our first object here as an instance variable. We're passing our first object here inside of our constructor to set things up, and then we call start. Okay. And then we have the run, which is an override because we're extending thread. So this goes ahead and calls the object and calls the display method of that object, and we pass that message. So this, if you run, of course, in our main here, we instantiate our first object and our second, and we create the second object, which is our thread, and then we pass in our first object, which is this that displays the message. All right. Now let's run this for you to see here what's going to happen. So we ran this, and you can see we have very interesting outputs. So keep running. You notice that welcome new programmer. It's not very consistent in the sense that the order is all messed up, because what happens is we have different threads that are running and they are accessing the same variables all at the same time, which creates this overriding process that we don't want. To solve this problem, we have to find a way in which we can use the lock and monitor classes, internal classes in Java, that allows us to make sure that these threads that we can run, as many threads as we can, these threads don't interfere with each other. That's very important, because if we have variable A that is running on thread 1 and then thread 2 is also accessing that variable A, we have this concurrency issue here. That's why we see these very inconsistent results. Okay. Now to solve this problem, we can use what they call synchronization. So we can actually, inside of our display method here, we can give this synchronized, add synchronized keyword. This will tell the system that, hey, this display here, whatever variables that we have, what's going to happen is it's going to make sure that there aren't any clashes. So no other thread will interfere with this current thread here unless that thread has the key to unlock me so that we can exchange information. So that's a very important concept, because as you see here, if you are writing an application that has different threads, you can run into a lot of issues because there will be a lot of inconsistencies. And those threads, as you know, they run on a CPU, and each CPU has different ways of processing order, right? So we want to always make sure that things are synchronized. That's why we have this synchronized keyword that allows us to have consistent results. Now, once you add this synchronize inside of our display method, because that's the method that is responsible for displaying our information, you will see now if I run, we will see that we have a better way, a consistent output. Okay? The brackets are in the right place. Doesn't matter how many times you run, this will always work as desired. And there we go. The next thing I would like you to do is to do some research about synchronization. Okay, so type in on Google, and the reason why I always tell you to go and find information on Google is because there's a lot of articles have been written about certain topics that we talk about here. So I would like you to get into the habit of doing some research yourself as well, because as developers, as Java developers, we always have to learn. We always have to keep learning by doing research and figure out other ways of doing the same thing. That is a very important skill because at times you get stuck and you need to know how to find information online. Reliable information, that is. Okay? So go ahead and look at synchronized or multi-thread synchronized keyword in Java and how to use that, so you can see different ways to use it and different explanations per se. That way you can understand from different angles. Okay, perfect. I'll see you in the next video.